At 30 years old, everything was a reset. My marriage broke down, I had a divorce, and then my work as well. I shut down all my businesses. I didn't want to go back to the corporate world, and my health was in shambles. So I decided to do one thing which I felt at that time was more intuitive, but it really saved my life. I went to the gym. I went to the gym and I started working out, and I could see it when you go to the gym initially, it's a lot of anxiety. You don't feel like you can get anywhere. But with the right guidance, with the right mentorship.
And discipline also,
yes,
right? That's the also important
yes,
part.
and also the community of people around there. I started to fall in love with this. And it felt so good. I decided then to improve on my physical fitness, and slowly it went into the mental side of things. It's just a natural progression.
Yeah, because it's also all connected. It's like the mind-body connection.
Yes. And when I noticed that, I'm very much into physical fitness, but I noticed that the more important thing is to get not just your body, but your mind strong. That's where it's missing for a lot of people.
And that's what you have been working on, I guess, for a while right now, coming up. So you have also a few books about the methodology and system.
Yes.
I'm curious about your own way of living and just looking at life. So what do you feel was the best tool for you that helped you with your own mental fitness? Is your favorite one?
I think for me personally is just being aware of my own emotions and being being aware of my mental state and being very honest about it. I think a lot of people are just saying, it's a very typical thing in Singapore where we live. Hey, how's things going? And they said,
it's fine.
Good.
Yeah, everybody says, I'm good.
Great. It's good. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's natural to say that, right? But even when you're feeling bad. So the first thing is to be really authentic with your mental state. And if you're feeling bad, it's entirely okay. You just need to acknowledge it, right?
Yeah.
There are good days and there are bad days. And that was really an epiphany for me, because I've been always a positive kind of guy, a go-getter, and always telling myself, you can do this, and all this self-talk, but it's not helping.
Yeah, well, if you're not feeling well, you're not feeling well. Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
And I think recognizing that point was a turning point for me. And the other point, so that's why awareness is one of the pillars of mental fitness. And another pillar which I find that's really important, which I didn't optimize, was relationships. And I didn't have a good relationship then with my ex-wife. And then I found Samantha, who became my wife again, and I really put a lot of effort into the relationship. And I started to treasure, and I realized that friendships, the families that we have, you need to invest time into them.
Yes, like business.
Just like business.
Yes.
It doesn't come automatically, right? So that's probably the two biggest things for me. And I use those pillars to form other pillars within mental fitness.
And Singapore, so it's interesting you said that, yes, I mean, we're in Singapore right now, and there is a common also cultural way of being when people don't really honestly talk about how they really feel, especially mentally and emotionally. So I'm just curious to hear like your opinion about it, or just your view.
There is really a big stigma. In fact, there was a study, a research on, and they interviewed 10,000 men, and when they asked all these men, is it okay to talk and reveal if you have a mental health issue or a problem? And most of them said that they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. More than 50% of them actually admitted that they would not admit that they have a mental health issue, because it's just not the norm. And it's seen as weak. And I think that has to change, because first of all, realizing that you have the problem, but then being able to seek help is a really very important thing. I think in Singapore, the mental health problems are really going up continuously. Yes. So what I personally feel is that whatever is being done, whether it's in the corporations, whether it's in the community, isn't really working. What are we doing? We're waiting for, we said, there are all these therapies and counselors, psychologists are ready to help you, but only when you have the issue. and only when you admit to having the issue. There's so many, for those problems out there, so many that's undiagnosed. So for the men out there, I really, as one of these very driven kind of men,
Alpha personality, clearly, I can see this.
I want to say, just reach out within and be very honest with yourself. Be sincere about it. And because without that sincerity, you will not be able to be your best. And being your best means not being your best for your loved ones, your family, your company that you lead. I think that's really important to think about. So if we can be honest to ourselves and say, yeah, I do have an issue and I want to improve on it, how? And that's where mental fitness comes in.
And I love also how it removes the stigma, right? So what you said, if we sort of exchange the word mental health to mental fitness, then it's immediately person is not sick.
Yeah.
And it's more just the will to be the best you can possibly be for yourself and for everyone around you. And also, just as you said, it's not, you don't have to wait until you really become sick.
Yes.
Because if you wait, there's a very high chance that you will.
Yes.
But then it's a bit like when you're going to the gym, right? So, I mean, there's another studies, then people who go to the gym regularly or do any other kind of exercise regularly, statistically, their health is better.
Yes.
And they get sick less.
Yes.
So it's the same here. If you do prevention, and mental fitness to me, it's a lot about prevention. You
Yes.
strengthen your mind. It's like a muscle, then it becomes an entirely different life.
Yes. And the other part that's really important is restoration. I think not just about working out and being strong in your mind, but restoring your mind. And that comes from self-care, sleeping well, being able to rest when it's important, or rejuvenation. I just told you about the retreat I went to in Thailand.
Yes,
and
with your wife.
with my wife. And it was one of those, because we totally did not touch our phones for 10 days, and we really told everybody that we're going to be incommunicado. And it's so important today for us to do all that kind of things. And another rule that I have is when we're having meals at home, we cannot have our mobile phones on the table.
We have the same rules in my family.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a short while, but
Yes.
it makes a lot of difference. So we have to structure that kind of thing. We have to structure restoration or rest into our lives today, because things are moving so fast.
And we want to stay centered. And as they say, when there is a storm, in the eye of the storm this is where you feel most centered.
Yes.
So mental fitness helps you, what you said, part of your pillars is the mental core, right? Which is a bit like an eye of the storm.
Yeah.
So when you get to this inner center, and whatever is happening around you professionally and personally, you're just not tormented that much.
Yes, I think that's very important for people to understand and to realize that there is always a method to improve, no matter where you are. Whatever you're facing today, wherever you are, even if you're a high-performing corporate executive, you can improve your
And
mental
you feel you
fitness.
have no time, you have time. Yes. Right? So if you find time for mental fitness, then everything else in your
I
life
think
improves.
as long as you're breathing, then you have time.
Exactly.